Welcome to S Class, the highest tier in podcasting. I'm your host, Justin, and today I'm joined by my buddy, Rob.
Well, buddy is a word we're not going to be using once we start talking about this trip, Justin.
Well, so today we're doing something different, no anime rankings. We're going to be talking about our journey to Japan 4 years ago, our first trip together. And I thought we were buddies when the trip began, but it slowly descended into madness.
Honestly, it descended into madness while we were planning the trip.
For me, at least. I think you were totally fine.
You should have known as we were planning it that this was going to be a terrible, terrible mistake.
Well, let's give some context. So I've been working this really shitty accounting job for about almost 3 years. And I finally decided to quit and I got my next job and I had like a 2 or 3 week span that was totally empty. So I reached out to 5 or 6 of our buddies. I was like, man, this is going to be a great trip. It's going to be like 4 or 5 of us. It's going to be a great time. Everyone's like either a big puss and they're like, oh, I don't like flying planes, or I'm busy, I'm working. And only one person responded to my message.
It was me.
And I reached back out to other people. I was like, hey, man, like, don't you want to come with us? You sure? And alas, none of them joined us.
I had a great time.
So it was just me and Rob, and we were like deciding on the day. And Rob was working at a school at the time. And we're like, okay, let's plan it right around your spring break.
Which was problematic because I still had to take off more days than the break. And I'm not supposed to build off of a break. So I had to, like, leading up to it, like, the day before we were leaving, just, like, start, like, acting like I was in so much severe pain, like, grabbing my stomach and just being like, oh my God, I just don't feel well. I had to tell them I had debilitating diarrhea and just, like, was like, nope, I'm not going to make it. I'm doing everything I can, but I can't do it. And then
What'd
I hopped
you do,
on a
2
plane
days
the next
off?
day. I think it was 2, yeah, leading
my
up to spring break.
So before we left, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I was doing all the planning, and it was like a 10 or 11 day trip. I booked all the flights, booked 4 Airbnbs for all the different cities we were visiting, booked the Wi-Fi, booked the Japan Rail Pass, got itineraries from all of my friends, and tried to put something together. And I'm like working overtime at my old job at this point still as well. And this fucking kid, he's doing absolutely nothing. I think at one point you're like, Jay Wayne, when's the itinerary going to be ready? I was so angry. I was livid at you.
I just wanted to know what we were doing. I was excited.
And you know what? I misspoke. I didn't have a 3-week gap. I actually worked until the very last day, and I had a 1-day gap before we left and then went on the plane. So then at one point, I was so angry at you. I think I blew up on you. I said, Rob, you're going to help me plan this fucking trip.
Well, I did help to the best of my ability.
So we went to your house one night. You're actually very sympathetic. You're like, I'm so sorry, Jay Wang. I didn't mean to put this whole burden on you. Let me help you. So we go to your house.
Well, no, I'm not going to pretend that I was sympathetic.
I think you fooled me into thinking you were sympathetic. It cooled me off for a second.
Yeah, that was more so my goal, to make you think that I had some empathy.
So I think what happened was I planned almost everything at this point. I was just like ironing out the details, and you said you wanted to go to a baseball game, which I was like, okay, sure. I don't really give a shit. But I was like, all right, you playing the baseball game? Help me find the game that you want to go to. Pick it on either Tuesday or Thursday. So we went to your house, and I told you pick one of those 2 days and book it, and then I'll arrange the Airbnbs accordingly.
Right. The reason being so that we could travel either from Osaka to Tokyo or Tokyo to Osaka and, have a set amount of time in those cities.
Yeah, that way it wasn't like, okay, 2 days in Tokyo, then back to Osaka, then 2 days in Tokyo, and it was like a good spread.
That was the plan.
And then what did you fucking do?
I booked the game for Wednesday. Well, the Yomiuri Giants website was in Japanese.
There was a W?
Getting the tickets was also in Japanese, and paying for the tickets was also in Japanese. And what I didn't realize is that their calendar, since they're on that 12-hour time delay, was be that if I booked a game on Tuesday, it would actually be a Wednesday.
This is a bunch of horse shit.
I don't think this is true.
You're retconning the whole story to lay in your favor.
I don't know how I messed that up. I don't know why I thought you said Wednesday.
I distinctly remember I was like deep in research on my laptop right next to you, looking things up. And then you're like, oh no, Jay Wang. I was like, stop. You had one fucking job.
And I immediately regretted it. I immediately was like, "Oh no, did I just book on the wrong day?" Yeah, no, that's a Wednesday.
I think this was all actually planned out, so you wouldn't have to do any more work at this point.
So I was so bad at the one thing I did, so you wouldn't ever ask me for anything again.
And it worked perfectly because I ended up doing
It did.
everything else up until the day that we left.
And the day that we left was another eventful day, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the night before, I maybe got 3 hours of sleep because I was making this like 5 or 6 page itinerary, which I can show you guys. But it's like super detailed, step by step, how far we have to walk to each station and everything. And
It was a little much.
Jesus, if you weren't in my computer screen right now, I'd murder you.
Okay, you know what? You love it.
And so my mom's dropping us off at the airport near my house, and you roll up with your
I had my mom, my grandma, my future wife. We were all like, and they were all like panicked about me getting on this plane.
and you were
Meanwhile, your mom is like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. He'll be fine.
yeah, it's gonna be okay. I think what happened was I I was like cussing at you. I was like, "Hey, motherfucker," or something like that out from my porch, and then you looked at me like, "Stop doing that," because you're. And then I saw your grandma roll out of the car. I was like, "Oh shit, my bad." Why?
I mean, she's almost 90.
Why was your whole family there? Was that to like wish you a farewell in case you die or something?
I think that might have been their thought process. Like, it was a just in case kind of thing. Or I think they were wishing more so you well for the sacrifice you were about to take.
I distinctly remember your mother saying, "God bless you, Justin." No, she said they're going to indict you into the sainthood.
Yes,
That means a lot coming
those were her
from a
words.
very Catholic woman like your mother.
She meant it too.
So we make it to the airport. My mom drops us off, totally fine. Were you like a internal mess at this point? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I was terrified. The last time I was on a plane was when I, once again with my mother and grandmother, they needed somebody to take them to Wisconsin. They were going to visit a friend, and they just needed somebody to be the designated driver because neither of them wanted to drive. So I went on that trip, which incidentally was also another trip where I booked a baseball game.
Huh?
So clearly I'm giving very important tasks. So that
Did
was
you mess
like,
that one up too?
no, that one I got right. It was great. It was a bobblehead day. So that was like 8 years prior, and it was only like a 2-hour flight. So I was pretty anxious for this 16-hour flight on Air China.
Yeah, so that's another thing. We booked Air China because I had a
Because you're cheap. Because you're cheap.
hey motherfucker, I booked everything out of pocket.
I paid for my half. So
Later,
what's up?
I
Yeah,
dropped like $3,000 out of pocket, and then you didn't pay me for like 21 days or something like that.
that is not true. I paid you the second we got back.
Yeah, like 20 days later or more.
This is absolute ridiculous blasphemy being spoken against me.
Anyway, so I booked this Air China because it ended up being crazy. Like it was a crazy flight. It was like $700 with the layover in Beijing on the way there and the way back. And I used points, and it ended up being like $550 because of the discount using points. So it was like $500 round trip each of us. And then we got to the airport. Rob's a hot mess, and then I have a priority pass with my Chase Sapphire card, and that got us into the Korea Lounge where we just like chilled out for like 2 hours.
So in the Korea Lounge, flying Air China to get to Japan.
Yes, that is accurate.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Do you remember anything about the Korea Lounge?
I'm not a big drinker, but I remember becoming an alcoholic that day.
I think we'd been friends at least 15 years at that point. I think that might have been the first time I've ever seen you drink.
I needed it.
To this day, it might still be the only time I've seen you drink.
And heavily.
You had like quite a bit of Jack Daniels.
Yeah, I kept going with it. I mean, it was free, so
Why not?
complimentary. Complimentary is my middle name.
You should still be thanking me to this day. You would be out there with the peasants, waiting with everyone for 2 hours if it weren't for me.
Owe you nothing. You know what? You want to know why I owe you nothing?
Why?
Like, I don't even want to talk about that 16-hour flight. I want to talk to you about what happened when we landed.
Where are we going?
And for that, reason alone, once we landed in Beijing, you owe me your life.
Wait a second. Not a. Hold on, wait. Let's back it up because that plane ride was possibly one of the most miserable plane rides I've ever been on,
No.
and it had nothing to do with the plane.
What could it be then? Wait. You know what? No. Because you made me sit in the middle every single flight we went on.
Did I?
Yes.
Rob, context.
There and back.
Context. I don't remember that. Number 2, I am 6'2". You were what, 5'5"? My legs,
Yeah.
My legs did not fit in that middle aisle. My legs were flying out the side of the outside aisle.
Whatever, man.
But
It was
no,
messed up.
what you did to me was, so first of all, you're an anxious mess. Like an hour in, you're like, Jay Wayne, I forgot my headphones. Can I have your headphones? I was going to murder you. How does this motherfucker forget his headphones for a 16-hour flight, and now you're going to deny me my rights to my own headphones that I brought?
I remember looking through my bag too. I was like, oh no, I don't have my headphones.
You're like, I really need this right now. You need to give me those headphones. And I'm just sitting there like, I was going to watch a movie, read a book, enjoy myself.
Oh, what a terrible trip for you.
And then you ate my fucking... So then they serve us like this kind of crappy Chinese food, honestly. And then you're like, Jay Wayne, can I have your broccoli?
Oh, I like
Do you remember
the broccoli. This? Yeah.
And you just ate the head, and something about that pissed me off so much. Like, you just ate the crown. I was like, Rob, you didn't finish your food. Like, you didn't finish your food, and then you only ate half the broccoli that I gave up to give you. And at that point, it's like 8 hours in. I'm just like livid. I was like, you're gonna waste the shit that you took from me.
I think you were just looking for any reason to be hateful towards me.
I already had enough reasons. It was just like gravy on top.
Well, that's why I like the broccoli. The sauce was good.
That's honestly, those two things are the only things I remember about that 12-hour flight to China.
Wasn't this when you were reading, what was that book, Count of Monte Cristo?
Oh, it might have been.
I think on that 16-hour flight, you got through maybe 7 pages.
Because you were pissing me off so much?
No, it had nothing to do with that.
I'm going to blame you.
You were reading that purely to say you read the Count of Monte Cristo, and you had no ability to do so.
Absolutely.
No, you have
that thing's a beast. It's like a fucking
such
brick.
Poor reading comprehension that you could not get through 7 pages of that book.
That was not the reason why. Don't turn this on me.
I mean, it's true.
I was waiting to blissfully eat my Chinese food and listen to some calming music while I read it, and everything was taken away from me.
My bad.
So I don't think we slept a wink, or like maybe I slept a couple hours.
No.
We finally make it to Peking Airport, Rob's favorite place.
Oh my god. Absolute hell.
And we get through Chinese security, which is slightly terrifying, especially when you pretend to speak Chinese but don't actually speak Chinese.
Your Chinese is the most frustrating thing I've ever experienced.
It's the second most frustrating thing besides traveling with you. And we're totally exhausted at this point. Like, we're like gross and like sweaty and whatever. And we're waiting for another like hour because with our layover in China, they give us accommodations for a hotel for like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And we're waiting. It's now like 2 a.m. or something. Finally, they like wave us over to take a van to the hotel. And we get on the van and we're exhausted. I just want to sleep for 4 or 5 hours. And we're driving on the Chinese highway. And you're actually like kind of at peace for the first time in like 10 hours. Do you remember this?
We were on solid ground. I felt like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be in a bed at some point. I don't know where I am. I'm kind of like clueless, but I have my Chinese friend. We're in China. He knows some Chinese. We're going to be okay, right? Wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong.
So I'm totally fine. I've been to China like once or twice before and I'm okay. But then I start getting really nervous because this guy, we're like in a real van, like not like some shitty car. Like we're in a real white ass pedophile van and we're going down this narrow ass road. Like we barely fit down this alleyway. And I start getting really nervous. I was like, dude, what if this is like taken? Like what if we're about to be sold into fucking slavery? And I start formulating a plan in my head of how we're going to escape the situation.
You see, I saw you start like, tapping your foot up and down and like having that look on your face where like you were unsure of what was going on. And then I was just like, oh no, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing right now, is it? This is not good. We're in a
So,
bad place.
so it's literally just the two of us in the driver. So he's in the first row. The second row is totally empty, and then we're in the very last row. So I'm thinking I've been practicing jujitsu for like 2 years at this point. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into the second row, rear naked choke the fuck out of this guy, and then get out of the car, and then we'll hail a cab back to the airport. Like everyone knows Peking Airport. And then you and like as I'm processing my plan, you're like, Jay Wang. Jay Wang, what's wrong? Jay Wang, you start shaking. I was like, shut the fuck up. I need to figure this out and make sure we don't die. You're fucking panicking, not helping at all.
Because we're in China and you're thinking we're getting kidnapped.
But you were not helping. Like, I was like, shut up, let me figure this out. And you're just panicking more and more as I
Because it was your fault.
Why was this my fault?
Oh, you're going to blame the Italian kid for us getting kidnapped in China?
I'm going to blame the Italian kid for contributing nothing to the planning part and making no decisions.
Exactly. You're the one that planned this.
You didn't contribute.
Irrelevant detail. That is not a pertinent detail at this time.
Anyway, so it ended up being kosher. Like, we were fine. It was a little sketchy, but we made it to this really like shady hotel down a dark alley.
But it was the weirdest thing because it was like really narrow alley, and then it kind of like opened up into like a plaza, and it was like a disgusting plaza, not like, you know, a nice plaza, but like I just didn't understand the architecture of where we were.
It was weird, like, honestly. It was just like totally narrow and then like a open square of ground with that one hotel.
Yeah. It was really weird. I still thought we were being kidnapped even when they let us out.
I think when I got inside the hotel, I was still kind of like wary, like just checking out the whole situation still, because it was like 4 a.m. and a place we have no idea what's going on.
Once we were in the hotel, I accepted that if I die, I die, because I was just so exhausted.
I wish I left you there.
Okay. That is hurtful.
I think what happened next is I took a shower. I don't know if you did, but I remember the moment I took a shower, I was like, this water smells like blood.
Yes, it smelled very strongly of blood.
Yeah, it was like irony. It was like very irony. And I was like, this is so sketchy, but whatever. And then I think at this point, we're already exhausted of each other. We haven't even made it to Japan. And I think we just go to sleep. Do you remember anything else?
I remember trying to Google anything and then realizing that everything Google is blocked in China. So I was like, well, I can't search anything. We have some Wi-Fi. Nope, can't do that. Let's try YouTube. Nope, can't do that.
No social media.
No. Oh, that's right. All the social media was blocked. I had nothing to do.
No contact with the outside world for 4 hours, Rob.
Yeah. It was terrifying.
Oh, the other thing I do remember was you whipped out your iPhone and the weather app said poor air quality as weather.
Yeah, that's right. I remember the smog very, very clearly.
So we get back up, we take the van back, and we fly from Beijing to Tokyo.
Right,
finally.
But let me mention this as well. Every single one of our Air China flights was delayed at least 2 hours.
Was it?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Not a single one did we not sit on that plane for 2 hours before actually taking off. And was that really worth $550 to you?
If we were to do this again, Rob, which we won't because I never plan on flying with you ever again in my lifetime.
That is fair.
What would you do? Air China for $500, or would you book a like $800-900 Japan Air?
Yes, I would splurge.
You'd splurge?
Yeah.
Okay.
To not ever experience Air China or the city of Beijing again.
You have told me over the years that Peking Airport is one of your favorite places on Earth. We'll
get into that in the last episode of this when we're talking about leaving, because I did enjoy our time in Peking Airport immensely.
Okay, we'll get into that episode 3 or 4.
There's a lot to it.
That is.
I have a lot to talk about with that.
You have a complicated relationship.
It is. It's complex.
So we fly. Anything about this flight? I honestly don't remember it.
I have no recollection. It was like a 2 or 3 hour flight, so it was kind of just, the bridge. And at that point, we were excited because, like, that was the day we were finally going to be in Japan.
We were so close at this point. It was like a full 24 hours of torture before we finally made it to Japan. And then we landed in Narita Airport, and it was beautiful.
Oh my God, it was amazing. I just remember, like, even just standing in line, like, I felt happy.
It felt like the music, the chorus from Your Name was playing
Oh wait,
as
I
we
just remembered
landed.
something adorable. I remember we were going through like the checked bag, and I had stuffed sloth in my backpack, and like the like old Japanese man, he was like 65, 70 years old. He just like was going through the bag, then picks it up, and he just goes, "Oh, kawaii."
Like, this place is great.
I was like, "Oh my god, I'm home. This is heaven."
Dude, immediately. I think like it was maybe 10 o'clock and the sun was shining, the sakura petals were flowing, and it was just beautiful. You know what? I remember we were sitting on the like the air train from the airport to get onto like the subway or something like that. And through the windows we saw Sakura and it was just like, oh my
It was
god,
honestly beautiful, yeah.
we're
And
really here.
I
We
think I
made it.
have that picture of from the train, from our train seat, like looking out, and you can see like the cherry blossoms falling. It's a really nice picture I have. That's right when we got to Tokyo, and we're taking the train from the airport to the Shinkansen.
Yeah, so our first stop ended up being Osaka, or we're in Tokyo, but we have to make it to Osaka to our first Airbnb. Um, and we take the Shinkansen 2 hours, just peaceful. We weren't even angry at each other. We were just happy to be there.
No, just like watching the Japanese countryside, it was amazing.
And then we finally make it. We make it to Osaka Station.
And we have no clue what we were going to do. We finally get there, even with our pocket Wi-Fi. We're like, "Oh my god, I don't know where to go."
We were totally lost.
We were totally lost until a maiden came down from the heavens, a celestial being, to guide us through the streets of Osaka to the what was our
The
hotel?
Comic
The
Inn.
Manga Inn, the Comic Inn. She was our saving grace.
But that story, we'll have to wait till next time when we tell you about our journey through Osaka.